All right, so we're going to start with number one. This is exponent rules. If you remember on your exponent rules, if you multiply, you're going to add your exponents. If you divide, you're going to subtract your exponents. If you have parentheses, you're going to multiply your exponents. And if you have negative exponents, you have to make them positive by changing them to a fraction. So on the first one, you have 1 over 5 squared times 5 to the negative 2 power. I changed that to 5 to the negative 2 power over 1 so that we can multiply two fractions together. And that would give you 5 to the negative 2 divided by 5 squared, which gives you 5 to the negative 4th. So the first one is false. The second one, 5 to the third power raised to the third power, you multiply. 3 times 3 is 9, so that is true. On the third one, 5 to the third, I put it over 1, changed it to a fraction, so you'd have 5 to the third over 5 to the fifth. And if you subtract 3 minus 5, since we're dividing, you will get 5 to the negative 2 power, not 5 squared. So that would be false. And then on the fourth one, 5 to the fourth raised to the third power is 5 to the 12th. And then 5 times 5 to the negative 2 power, we would add exponents, which gives you 5 to the 10th. So that one is true. And then on the last one, 5 squared times 1 over 5 to the 6th. When you subtract, you get 5 to the negative 4, which is true. But when you change a negative exponent to positive, you have to change it to a fraction. So this should be 1 over 5 to the 4th power. All right, so that one is false. Number 2. Which set of ordered pairs can be plotted on the graph so that the graph continues to represent a function? If you remember, if something is a function, it has to pass the vertical line test. That means if you draw a vertical line and pull it all the way across from left to right, it can only touch the graph in one place. If I add the ordered pair negative 7, 1, negative 1 is right here, which means I would have a point here and here. That would mean the vertical line would touch in two places, so it can't be that one. If you look at B, 0, negative 5, you have 0, negative 5 is right here. That would be okay because it's the same point. But if you look at 1 and then negative 4, that point would be right here, and you would have a conflict with it being right here. It would touch in two places. And then on C, 5, negative 2 is right here, and these two can't be in the same vertical line. So your answer has to be D, which is negative 6, positive 5, negative 7, negative 5, positive 7, and negative 4, 9. Number 3, a golf club offers 2 membership plans. The tables below represent the monthly cost in dollars of each membership plan based on the number of visits to the club. So plan 1, if you go 1 time, it's going to cost you $200. 2 times, $220, and 3 times, $240. So we have to find the rate of change between the numbers. So if I go from 200 to 220, that's an increase of 20, right? If you go from 220 to 240, that's an increase of 20. So every time I go to golf, it costs me $20. So let's work backwards. Let's say one visit is $200. So if I wanted to go backwards, I would subtract $20 instead of adding. So that means my buy-in, or your fee to actually go to this golf club is $180 plus $20 per session. All right, so now we got to analyze plan number 2. So we do the same thing. You find the rate of change. So from the first visit is $100 and the second is $130. So that's a $30 rate of change. So it's $30 per session. And if we work backwards to 0 visits, you would subtract 30, which means there is a $70 fee and $30 per session. Now, part A asks, at what number of visits will both plans cost the same? So we have to set the two equations or the two expressions equal to each other. So I have 180 plus 20x, and I have 70 plus 30x, where x represents the number of sessions that you go to. And we use x because it could be 1 session or it could be 587 sessions. It just depends on how much you like to golf. And so when I set the two things equal to each other, I have 180 plus 20x equals 70 plus 30x. So I have an equation with variables on both sides. That means I have to find the side that has the smallest variable. In this case, that is 20x. So since 20x is positive, I'm going to do the opposite, which is minus 20x, and whatever you do on one side of the equation, you do on the other. So then I have 180 equals 70 plus 10x when I work all that out. Now I need to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 70 from both sides of this equation, and I get 110 equals 10x. And then divide both sides by 10, and you get 11 equals x. So part A's answer is 11 visits. That's, if you have 11 visits, it doesn't matter if you go with plan A or plan 1 or plan 2. At 11 visits, they're going to be the same. Part B says, which plan is more expensive at the 10th visit? So you would take like this, and you would multiply by 10, so 180 plus 20 times 10, and 70 plus 30 times 10, and you would get that plan 1 is more expensive. Number 4, what is the y value of the solution to the system of equations? So we have 3 methods of solving systems. You have graphing, substitution, and elimination. I think as a class we pretty much decided elimination was the easiest method. So when we eliminate, that means we try to have 2 x's or 2 y's that cancel each other out. So in our original equation, we had a positive 4 and a negative 8. I can change this positive 4 to a positive 8 by multiplying it by 2. But whatever I do to one part of the equation, I have to do to all parts. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 2. So 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times negative 6y is negative 12y. And 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. And when then I cross through this one because we're done with this, and this is my new equation. 8x minus 12y equals negative 12. So now I'm going to add everything together. 8x and negative 8x they cancel out. Negative 12 and positive 4 becomes negative 8y, and negative 12 and positive 12 becomes 0. Now we still got to divide by the number in front of the variable, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 8, and 0 divided by any number is 0. So in this case, y would equal 0. If it asked you to find x, you would take the y equals 0 and replace one of the y's in one of the equation with that 0 and solve for x, and that would give you the answer for x. Number 5, which statement describes the solutions to the system of equations? So I have 3x plus 4y equals 7 and 12x plus 16y equals 21. So once again, I'm going to use elimination method. And when you do that, you have negative, so I'm going to multiply the 3x plus 4y equals 7 by negative 4, which will help me to eliminate everything. So negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. Negative 4 times 4y is negative 16y. And negative 4 times positive 7 is negative 21. Now when I work all this out, I get 0 equals 0. And basically this is the exact same equation twice. Now the answer key said that this was no solution, but this is actually infinitely many solutions because it has the exact same equation. So basically, if we were to graph this, you would graph the same thing 2 times. Everything would be on top of the 2 lines would be exactly on top of each other. And so we would have infinitely many solutions. I got the answer. All right, number 6, Emma plans to take yoga classes in the summer. It says the YMCA charges $10 per class, and the local gym charges a membership fee of $45 and $5 per class. So we're going to let the per class be our variable. That's our x, because we don't know how many classes she's going to take. So you would multiply $10 times x number of classes for the y, and you would do $45 plus $5 times x number of classes for the gym. Now it says how many classes would Emma need to take for both options to end up costing the same amount. So we're going to, when it says the same amount, we're going to set them equal to each other. So I have 10x equals $45 plus 5x. This being the YMCA side and this being the gym side. So now we have an equation with variables on both sides. To solve that, you find your smallest x, which is on this side, because 5 is smaller than 10. So we're going to start by subtracting. We're going to do the opposite of plus 5x, which is minus 5x. And whatever you do on one side of the equation, you do on the other. So 10x minus 5x is 5x, and you bring down the 45, and then you divide both sides by 5, and you get x equals 9. So at 9 classes, it would be exactly the same. Number 7, it says choose a word from each drop-down menu to make the sentence true. So it says, given the following system of equations, the ordered pair blank blank would be the solution. So notice there's parentheses here, so this is going to be your x, and there's another parentheses there that's going to be your y. So when we solve this, I solved it by elimination. So I multiplied the second equation by -3, and I got -6x minus 12y equals -12. And that gave me y equals 0. So I knew that my y was going to be 0. Then I took the y equals 0, and I replaced the y in this equation with that 0. So this right here became 0. So I got 6x equals 12, and then divided both sides by 6 and got x equals 2. So the x value is 2, and the y value is 0. Remember, the answer to a system of equations is an ordered pair. You're going to have an x and a y.